Do you like movies, comic books, science fiction, and more? Then you come to the right place. This is the Rebel Radio Podcast. You can find us at therebelradiopodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show. Welcome to a new episode of the Rebel Radio Podcast. This is Mark.
This is Matt.
This is Long, remembering Harambe.
Yes. Rip.
Oh, Lord.
Rest in peace, Harambe.
Yes.
People kind of lost their shit over that when that happened, didn't they?
Yeah.
If I remember right. It was kind of like a big deal. And,
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever. People want to fight for things, they can fight for things, I guess. As long as they do the right thing.
Yeah.
For Harambe. I don't know.
Harambe.
So, damn it, Long, you threw me off. I was expecting you to be like, the great Cesar, like, this is Long, the great Cesar or something.
Yeah.
Lead a revolution.
Yes.
For more Asian power. I don't know. Oh, no. Anyway, how you guys?
Good.
Good.
Yeah.
Been a good day today.
I just saw y'all a few hours ago. We
Yeah.
we made a rare public appearance. The trio that is the Rebel Radio Podcast is as everyone knows, the world has been flipped upside down in the last 18 months, and people don't get together as much as they used to. Even though they can to an extent if they're vaccinated and are careful with things, but it's just people aren't quite ready to fully, go back to how it used to be, for good reasons.
They're not ready to take the rubber off,
But yet, if you turn on college football all today, the stadiums are quite full. So I don't know. We'll see. But we were able to get together for just the third time this year. Really, we all got together in person, and we had kind of casually talked about getting back and recording in person again, but now this Delta variant has hit and things are getting rough again. So we're still doing it the digital way, which is fine too. But it was good to see you guys today. And I've seen you guys on and off a couple of times. But the three of us hanging out just the third time this year. So
it was cool, man.
For Long's birthday earlier this year, then at Palooza, and it was kind of an early celebration for your birthday, which is next week, Matt. Today,
yeah.
So it was cool. I enjoyed my peace and quiet for the 6 hours or so we were gone, and since I've been home, it's been the typical chaos, and I'm like, God, can I go back to hanging out with Matt Long? It was quiet.
Yeah, much quieter.
It's like when we're hanging out and stuff, and we have a moment of just like no one saying anything. No one says anything because we all realize like, oh, it's okay. We don't have to be talking all the time. Sometimes those moments of peace and zen are good. Just staying out with the boys.
Just being there, man. Just being there.
But no, it was nice after the first couple weeks of school starting, and it's been very busy. Because as me, it's like in the summertime, I'm home at 2:30, and the kids are home, and you're home for the day. Now all of a sudden, I basically have like 3 hours extra a day added to my schedule with picking them up and stuff, and that's not a complaint because I'll do it 100% every day for them, but it's an adjustment for Dad too. I'm a little tired these first couple weeks of school starting, So it was definitely nice to hang out, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. What we went and did today. Saw a little Marvel movie that came out in theaters, and so it was fun. But I guess we can get right into it. I mean, there's not a whole lot more to talk about. It's been not much exciting has happened in the last week because we recorded Sunday morning last week, so we it's been kind of a short week in a way for recording, and it was just pretty much a pedestrian normal week this week. Work, school, work. So not much exciting happened. So let's get into Download This, where we tell people what we watched, streamed, checked out this week, and we all went and saw the same movie today. We'll talk about that in a minute. But if there's anything that anybody wanted to add to the table that they watched this week or played, they can do so.
I'll go. Long always goes. I'll go this time. Watched the whole Rise trilogy, and just wanted to remind myself the whole story. It was still fairly fresh in my brain, but wanted to see it again. And good trilogy, looks good. Also watched Planet of the Apes. Just because hey, got my oldest indoctrinated into it. That way he is aware of the the significance of it, at least, because there's sometimes you see those references. I don't know if I've off the top of my head, I guess the damn you all the hell, or
Oh, you talking about the original?
Yeah, the original with Charlton Heston. And, I was asking him, I was like, I said, it's supposed to make you think from a different perspective. What if, roles were flipped, and what if you were, treated that way, and, how would you feel? And he was like, oh yeah, that's a good point. But other than that, Mark had given me the heads up that Paramount Plus was 1 week free and $5 a month. So, I got home, and a little after that, the, kids and I watched the Paw Patrol movie, and that was it.
I apologize in advance that you had to.
Yeah.
It's been on my TV about 7 times in the last 10 days. Where
I went and I started cleaning. Yeah. I was like, I got to clean and make pizza.
It's like when you have kids. We have kids. I mean, you don't mind watching kid flicks like most Disney stuff and Pixar and maybe SpongeBob or a few things, but then there are some things that are just so below my level. It's like, no, I'm not sitting and watching this. Paw Patrol is one of those.
No, can't do this.
And nothing against Paw Patrol. It's a great cartoon for kids, but it's like, nah, I'm not doing this. And it was their biggest adventure yet.
Yep.
That's what I got told by my 4-year-old. She's like, it's their biggest adventure yet.
That sounds like a critic, like a critic for Rolling Stone, That's in his future. He's going to be the one-liner headlines.
I'm going to try to sit down on. I saw A Quiet Place Part 2 is on there. I definitely want to sit down and watch that in the next.
Yes.
While I have Paramount Plus again, because I wanted to see that.
But yeah, that was about it.
For me, it's another week of Final Fantasy. That's about it. Just going through the epilogue of Shadowbringers, and nothing to report there. That's all I've been doing on whatever spare time I've had. Unless you want to hear me trying to mow the lawn, but. That's about it. And then the movie sound? That we watched earlier today. I'll wait till Mark finishes his download this.
I mean, I didn't watch a whole lot this week. About 3 more episodes of Titans. I've got 2 left on the first season. Continues to be a much better show than I expected to be. Like I said before, definitely a cool take on the Teen Titans mythologies. I recommend watching it if you get a chance. What did I watch? I wanted to say there was something I was watching on Hulu or one of the other fucking multiple damn streaming services I have. But I definitely know I watched Titans, and that's all I remember watching besides today's featured film, and then the movie we all saw in theaters today. I mean, let's get into that. I mean, because there's some stuff to talk about in this movie. Of course, Marvel. The whole world's been put on hold in theaters and stuff, and the Marvel Cinematic Universe, in that sense, has been put on hold a bit. And Disney is trying to get things rolling again by putting Black Widow out back in early July on streaming services and in theaters, and now this weekend, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings hit theaters and theaters only, so it's not a hybrid release. And so the 3 of us got together this afternoon and went and saw this movie, and I feel kind of bad that all these years I had called the character Shang-Chi, because that's how I'd heard it announced by other people. And Marvel and Disney pretty much said, no, fuck y'all are all saying it wrong. It's Shang-Chi. Well, God, I hope they forgive us because I think everyone was saying Chang all these years. And
Yeah.
I legit felt kind of bad when I heard that in the movie. I'm like, damn, I've been calling it the wrong name all these years.
Yeah, I was surprised too. I'd been pronouncing it wrong myself. Got corrected, but yeah, I mean, it's crazy that it wasn't released on Disney Plus. I was expecting it to be released then. In fact, I had forgotten what movie we were going to go see. I was like, what
Yeah.
are we seeing this weekend? Because I'm used to
Uh-huh.
seeing stuff like, coming soon, and I was like, are we going to go see Free Guy? And then I was looking, and I was like, oh no, we're going to go see, we're going to go see Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Yep. Personally, I thought this was a very good. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie from beginning to end, and I was really impressed with Hollywood's first ever kung fu fantasy movie.
Yeah.
Mainstream kung fu fantasy movie, usually in the realm of Hong Kong cinema or Chinese cinema, but very good movie, I have to say. And I'm glad that Marvel took the risk of adapting this character to the big screen. It's like, uh, I don't know, people could be cynical about it and say, oh, they're just doing it for the Chinese market. That's why they're making this movie. It's not really for the American audience or something like that, but no. Um,
It's
what?
it's definitely a deep cut for a Marvel character. I mean,
Oh,
there,
very.
there there was a time in which this character had its run in the 70s, and they were playing off the Bruce Lee films or martial arts movies at the time. But it was never a huge mainstream Marvel hit. So it's definitely maybe a deeper cut than even the Guardians of the Galaxy being made into a film.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's a fair comparison because I know I didn't ever hear about Shang-Chi, but I wasn't reading comics at that time. When I was reading comics, I think Venom had gotten popular and Spider-Man was still going strong. And what else was I think I was reading that, and then I read a little bit of Fantastic Four, but I hadn't heard Shang-Chi.
No, neither have I. I, I, I assume this character was created during the martial arts craze of the 70s. Martial arts movies became a popular thing for a couple of years in the mid 70s. So I mean, freaking even Wonder Woman was turned into a kung fu character during that time.
Oh wow!
Yeah, she lost all her powers and started doing martial arts in the mid 70s. There was a time. There was a time in that it permeated all of pop culture, thanks to Bruce Lee and all.
I wonder if that's how you know Hawkeye became Ronin. Because there was that little time where he started training with Captain America, and he started.
Yeah, but that was done way years after the martial arts craze.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a real recent thing. That was a few years ago in the New Avengers comics. That's not even that old.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's pretty recent. The Ronin thing is pretty recent.
But yeah, the movie itself, a very good villain. I've been watching some reviews on the movie, and a lot of people were really impressed with Tony Leung, his performance as Winwu, the main villain. Very nuanced performance and a very sympathetic villain, and you could relate to him as a father or widower. So, uh, I guess the two fathers can attest whether they can relate to the guy's motivations better than I can. How about your perspectives?
Yeah, I thought he was a good villain. Uh, I mean, he still fell into that trope of villains wanting ultimate power, and if it was a little bit different in his case. It's like he wanted to use his power to bring his wife back, which he didn't, couldn't see through that it wasn't true. So he fought with that, but overall, yeah, it was a great performance by Tony, and and it did give the movie an emotional core. Because you could be sympathetic to him as a villain, but you also, I think, lean more towards your sympathies towards Shang and his sister, because I think their stories were a little more relatable, as everything they had to go through is that their father pushed them through and forced them to be part of the Ten Rings army and all these years. So I think you still fell to their side more, but you could definitely sympathize with the villain as well. And I thought that one thing I really noticed about this movie is that the title of the film is, of course, Shang-Chi, and he's the main character. But I thought this movie did a really well done job of balancing all the characters, and so much to the point that it was almost an ensemble film, that it wasn't just about Shang. He was the core of the story, but I thought this movie did a really good job of that, giving everybody a part to play in the film, and and there was an emotional core to a lot of the characters in the film, which I thought was well done.
Yeah, I do feel like that's a good point. It utilizes a lot of the characters in it. See some familiar faces in the film, so that's cool. And felt like the villain kind of righted himself for a short time, and then ultimately, got steered in the wrong direction again.
He goes from bad to good to bad to good to bad to good a few times in this film. Yeah,
like a light switch.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely better than I thought it was going to be. I thought it looked good. This is a really good Marvel film. This is, I feel like, at least in the top 10 of Marvel films, if we can fit it in there. I might have to do some rethinking, but I think there's at least room to put it in like top 7. Maybe.
Very, very, very good martial arts scenes too.
Yeah.
The action sequences, the fight scenes, easy to watch, easy to follow.
I really liked the scaffold scene. I thought that was awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, the scaffold scene, the bus scene was really good too.
Oh yeah.
It lost a little bit of that, kung fu edge by the end of the movie. Not because it was like it was a CGI battle.
Well, yeah, it became less about it became less about the martial arts of the film, and it became more of your typical action set piece fantasy. Yeah. And maybe a little spoiler territory here, but one thing I thought was cool about those last 20 minutes of the film or so was that they pretty much showed none of that in the trailers. And I thought, like, that was nice to go into a movie, and it felt very fresh because they didn't show everything in the trailer. I mean, there was almost nothing from the last 20 minutes that I remember seeing in the trailers for the film. And some nice fantasy-style surprises at the end of the movie with battling dragons and stuff, which is a little bit spoiler territory there, but we're reviewing a movie, so spoilers might happen.
When I get kaiju action in the movie, I'm happy.
Kaiju.
Yeah, man. If I was a kid watching this film, man, it would just blow my mind. Oh wow, a kung fu movie and giant monster battle.
Yep.
It'll be hog heaven, and yeah. I think I was pretty much smiling from ear to ear watching this film.
It's thoroughly entertaining. It's sometimes I'll harp on Marvel and their jokes in movies, but this one I thought was had some few lighthearted, funny moments, and they didn't feel out of place to me. They didn't feel forced. I thought they did a good job with that. It's well acted throughout the film.
Didn't ruin any moments either.
No, the jokes didn't ruin moments. The jokes were well placed. It's always a delight to see Michelle Yeoh. She's always great on screen. And then what is the lead actor? Simolu, is that how you say it? He's really good. He's charismatic. He played the part well, and I look forward to seeing him in more Marvel films. Because obviously with the post-credit scenes, we know we haven't seen the last of him. Aquafina, her character, Katie, she could have been easily written as one of those annoying sidekick characters, but it's almost like the writers and the director knew how to use her, where it was just enough that you appreciated her. Because that's one of those characters that could have easily been written to that annoying sidekick part, but they didn't with her. She was just enough And I thought that was good. And that's what I said earlier about it being such an ensemble picture where everyone has a part to play and it doesn't just focus the entire story around Sean, and it has others, elements to make it work. I did think the scene where she calls him out on his name change was pretty funny. It's like, you go into Heidi, you only drop one letter off your name.
That was good.
No wonder your dad found you.
Yeah.
I still hate the Eagles, by the way. So, not a big fan of the Eagles.
That's like the number one selling single ever.
I'm not an Eagles guy either.
Dang.
I find them to be a very boring band.
Very overrated.
I've never understood the huge appeal of them. That's like my grandpa's music. It's
Yep.
It's boring.
Yeah. Yep. Don't worry, it's a Gen X thing, Matt. You'll never understand. Same reason why Gen X doesn't like MASH. We don't like MASH either. I don't know anybody in my age group that likes that TV show MASH.
What about the show that came on after MASH?
I have no idea.
The show with Jamie Farr? Okay.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I don't either.
Okay, no. Boomer.
Matt, I don't dig the Eagles. Give me some Led Zeppelin or something over the Eagles.
Man.
Yeah.
No.
Pretty much.
No. But anyway, overall, man, I enjoyed the hell out of watching this film today.
The Carpenters had more enjoyable music.
Yeah.
Watching with my boys.
Rainy days and Mondays always get you down.
Yeah.
Having a good lunch afterwards. But it was fun. That's the first movie I had seen, a new movie, since I took the kids to see Sonic. I did go see Empire Strikes Back on the big screen last year, but I hadn't been to the theater to see something new in quite some time. So it's always, movie theater going experience. You can't top it. It's always going to be the best way to see a film.
Yeah.
I will probably venture out here in a few weeks and try to see No Time to Die when it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
same here.
But it was fun watching Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Getting back to the MCU and see where they go next with it all. And I'm going to call it now, and I think they're going to go Galacticus and then possibly the Beyonder if they really are doing a Secret Wars storyline like Jim Shooter believes they are. So we'll see, since he basically sold them the right to Secret Wars.
Yeah,
I want to read Secret Wars, but god dang, the trade paperback is like $32. I'm like, I know it's 12 issues, but I'm like, that's an expensive trade paperback.
I don't know how they're going to do the Secret Wars. They keep killing off villains.
I read a few series of Secret Avengers, and they basically have
That has nothing to do with Secret Wars. No.
Oh, okay.
Matt, Secret Wars is back in the 80s, man. You're like, Matt keeps bringing up all this recent stuff. Like Ronin is literally like maybe a 7 or 8 year old character. That has nothing to do with the kung fu from the 70s and all that.
I could have sworn Secret Wars was like late 90s or early 2000s,
You have to go back further. Before your time, Matt.
I have to plow deeper into the Marvel universe.
They did a modern Secret Wars too, but the one Jim Shooter wrote was back in the 80s.
Yeah, the first iteration. Yeah, the concept of Secret Wars, it was like the first mega event for comic books.
It introduced the black costume.
Yeah, the black Spider-Man costume.
Yeah.
And it was like all heroes of the Marvel's universe versus all the villains in the Marvel universe. That was the concept. The Beyonder transports these heroes onto a planet, and the heroes and villains have to fight each other. And and what's funny was, that's why I keep commenting. Well, they can't have the Secret Wars when they keep killing off their villains, right? So unless they do it the modern version, which is a weird Secret Wars thing. I didn't understand that concept. It was a bunch of alternate universes. Maybe they're going for that. Who knows?
Yeah, you're right. 2010 was Secret Avengers.
I would love to see the Captain America Secret Wars storyline where Captain America goes to Planet Hulk and his companion was was Devil Dinosaur, Red T-Rex.
Mm.
You
Yeah.
know, it was a sentient T-Rex. It was Captain America and the Red T-Rex trying to
Well, yeah.
survive at Planet Hulk.
Didn't Chris Evans even mention that? I think at one time he said, if they ever do a Planet Hulk, I better get the dinosaur with me. I remember it was. I think it was Evans or
Yeah,
somebody mentioned that. Yeah. You know.
yeah, that would be so awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, it was cool. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings playing in theaters now. Wait, sorry, Shang-Chi. Now that I know how to correctly say it, I don't want to be
How would y'all?
a white guy that
How
can't
would
say
y'all
things properly.
rate it?
Oh, I give it a pretty solid A. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Hey,
You know,
hey, man.
Yeah, A. Yeah, same here.
it felt
A
like it.
for Asian.
A for Asian.
Well, real quick, and then we'll get into today's featured film. Is like
Yeah.
Black Widow. Black Widow, I enjoyed, but it felt like the same old MCU, if that makes sense. Walking out of the theater today, I felt a little refreshed in the MCU. I felt like, okay, we're headed to some new ideas. And I think that's why it works. Because even Falcon Winter Soldier and WandaVision, I know I haven't finished Loki yet, even they felt like the same old MCU. You know, this film made me feel like, okay, we're moving things forward with some new ideas. And I'm excited to see where it goes. So,
Yeah.
and so it was cool. So that brings us to today's feature film then. Man, it's, I just, obviously we all know we're getting older, but I'm shocked that it's been 10 years since this movie came out. And I saw this at the Showboat Drive-In out in Ockley. I remember, and this was a movie that, as a longtime Planet of the Apes fan, you know, at this point we had only had the Mark Wahlberg film, which, you know, I'm not going to knock it here on the show. There's things I like about that film, and there's things I don't. But when I had heard that they were rebooting the Planet of the Apes franchise, I was skeptical. You know, there's a director named Rupert Wyatt I hadn't really heard of. And then, you know, starring James Franco, and I'm kind of like, yeah, okay, this guy's known for stoner movies or whatever. And then the trailers came out for this movie, and I was like, okay, it looks interesting. And I decided, you know, I'm going to see it because I'm a Planet of the Apes fan. And I went into this really with just no expectations. I was like, there's just no way. I kind of went to a little bit negative, thinking, oh, it's not going to be good, you know. And I drove out of the theater that day and was truly blown away. And that is Rise of the Planet of the Apes. And this, to start off, this is a really good fucking movie. Let's just be honest about it. It's a movie that y'all probably had the same feeling, went into it with kind of lower expectations, not knowing what to think from a reboot of it, and walked out of it extremely satisfied and wanted to see what would happen next. And that's my initial reactions when I first saw this film. I was like, wow, that's way better than I ever thought it was going to be.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was, when that movie came out, I kind of poo-pooed on it because, like, ooh, a reboot. You know, because during that time, I mean, there was a ton of reboots coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Like RoboCop reboot, Total Recall reboot.
Yeah, there was a lot.
And
Recall.
there was a lot that year. And I was like, man, they're going crazy. And I started hating on them a lot. And unfortunately, I kind of lumped it. Rise of the Planet of the Apes. And a little brief summary. So Planet of the Apes is basically about how they're medical pharmaceutical companies trying to find a cure for Alzheimer's, and I guess they got a secret batch and used it on the monkey. Sorry, not monkey. On the chimpanzee.
Bright Eyes.
And
yep.
Yeah, Cesar got the experimental medicine, and I believe they boosted it further.
Yes, on the other apes. When
he gets it. Cesar gets it passed on to him when he was born, because he was.
Yeah, that's right. Because his mother had the right was the first test subject. Anyways, he gets brought home by James Franco's character. Oh, that was another reason why I didn't want to watch it. I did not like James Franco. And anyhow. So they raise him, and then they couldn't raise him after an incident with a neighbor or so. because John Lithgow's character was developing dementia and Alzheimer's.
He was being treated
and
by the X12, but he developed a strain of antibodies which counteracted the treatment. So, he reveals, that's whenever he reveals that revelation to his boss.
Yeah. So, anyways, Caesar gets put into a holding pen with other apes, and of course they eventually escape, run amok, Golden Gate Bridge, trying to get into the Sequoia National Park in order to raise their own little cobble of smart apes, and the end.
Long. That summary sucked.
I know.
So you missed there was a good part you alluded to, but you didn't finish. So he goes to his boss.
A summary is a summary. I don't have to give away the whole movie.
Well, the way it starts affecting humans, you almost got there. I felt like that was the last. I think that's the cool part. You find out how humans are, dematerializing, degenerating mentally, and through this sickness that is created through this more aggressive virus strain that James Franco tells his boss he needs to reduce so that it can get past these antibodies, get the product faster into the cells so that it bypasses the antibody aspect of the human immune system. And what it gets airborne, it affects one employee, and then that employee affects the pilot, and then the pilot goes to the airport, and then boom, we know it spreads. And I thought that part was really cool. Just like, because you have an answer, because you watch the original series, and Mark gave me his copies because he upgraded to Blu-ray. So thank you, Mark. I have the DVDs thanks to that. And watching that first movie, Planet of the Apes, you're like, man, how did this happen? Because even Heston, he's in the film, he's like, how did this upside down world come to be? And you get that answer, and that's what I like about this film. I know it exists outside of that film, or it's supposed to, but it's cool getting that answer, or that reason.
Right.
I always thought.
Well, and I feel like this movie, like we were talking earlier, I feel like this movie, it alludes to being a prequel to the original, but I also think they exist in their own world. I think they like to throw some of that stuff in there for Easter eggs and things like that, because I feel they were trying to find their own universe with this trilogy as it went along. And but this movie does give us a look as to how it all could have possibly started. Like you said, with the human virus and the revolution of the apes, who essentially Caesar, as he is taken away from Will and put into captivity, he just sees the how humans are, essentially, and the way they treat him, and he ends up not having a trust for humans, and even feels a little bit that Will even betrayed him, I think, because he didn't get him out of the sanctuary, but yet he realized that Will was ultimately a good person, and Caesar knows it's up to him to basically help free all of his kind, and that's what he does. Tom Felton, who played, is known for the Harry Potter movies, plays a little evil son of a bitch in there, and he gets what's coming to him, deservedly so, after treating the apes like trash. And
like a Julius from the first Planet of the Apes. He's where he abuses Charlton Heston's character. He abuses Caesar with the water hose.
Out of all three films in the trilogy, this is definitely the one that has the most callbacks to the original films. And of course, Caesar is the name of the son of Cornelius and Zira in the original film. In the original films, they named him Caesar. Yeah. So in this movie, he is named Caesar through Will's father, played by the always great John Lithgow, has Alzheimer's, and that's why Will's doing all this. He's trying to save his dad, and his dad names him Caesar, in the film, and Caesar does everything he can to protect him and everything. That's how he gets in trouble, gets put in the sanctuary, by trying to protect Will's father. So I think the great thing about this movie is, first off, the mocap work by Andy Serkis is remarkable, and the work by Industrial Light and Magic and everything, bringing these apes to life is some of the best CGI work seen on film in the last 30 years since CGI has become a normal thing. This has some remarkable work in it, and but the story is also very humanized by you kind of sympathize with Will what he's doing, even if he's not necessarily doing it legally. Trying
Yeah.
to save his dad, and then his boss is kind of at first his boss is kind of like he ruins the project, but then he trusts in Will that it's working. But then he kind of still turns on Will, and of course he gets what's coming to him too, when all the apes attack him at the end of the film. Because Caesar definitely shows no mercy for the people that mistreated him and his kind in this film, and it's portrayed by just fantastic CGI work and mocap and the way the animators capture the looks on Caesar's face. He's truly a living character in this film, and it's amazing work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was amazed by. Yeah, it was seamless. It's definitely one of the few movies where I felt like I'm focused on the character and I'm not thinking about the visual effects at all.
Right.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. And I felt like the CGI was okay. Like you said, Mark, you had talked about it earlier. We probably needs an update, to make it a little smoother.
Well,
It doesn't
and it
look
gets
as
better. It gets
yeah,
better as the trilogy goes along. They had this out of the three films. This had the lowest budget of the three, so you got to think about that too.
okay, yeah, that makes sense. But it's man, it's just cool how he leads the revolution and how he speaks. That's another callback. And then we see the lost spaceship in space on the newspaper. Um, Whenever I think it's Franco goes outside and grabs a newspaper and he puts it on the table, and you get a little glimpse of it, and it says, "Lost in Space" or something like that, and it's the shuttle that went off earlier in the film. So it's like, whose spaceship is that? Is that Charlton Heston's? Is it someone else's that we don't know? That we haven't touched that part of the universe yet. Is it Mark Wahlberg's? Who knows? But callbacks.
Ooh.
Oh,
Again, I think they're just nods to the original films. you
yeah.
know,
But yeah, I think it's I don't. I feel like you feel more sorry. I feel more sorry for Charlton Heston than I do Caesar. But they didn't focus a whole lot on the abuse part. It was definitely there, and you definitely hated the Draco Malfoy actor. And but yeah, I feel like yeah, I guess they had to get the virus stuff explained, the medicine and James Franco's story. Um, it was an honest mistake. It's crazy that he was just trying to help his
well,
dad and ended up
well, I
basically
don't think,
declining the human race.
I don't think they were getting you to feel sympathetic though for Caesar. I think that as a human watching it, you understood that enough was enough, and you understood why Caesar was pissed off. You know,
Yeah,
um, I don't feel like they were trying to make him sympathetic. Like, I think you going into the movie, you knew what was going to happen. You knew that he was going to start this revolution. So I think that, that was the whole point. And not necessarily to feel sorry for Caesar, um, but yeah, because it's a different character than dealing with in the original film and dealing with Charlton's character. You're always going to sympathize a little more with the human, I guess, in that film because of the way that story was told compared to this one.
yeah,
Because I think in this movie, you knew that Caesar was going to kick some ass eventually. Um, moviegoers in 1968 might have really thought that, wow, Charlton Heston's captured. What's going to happen? Things were just movie-going experiences were a little different then compared to now. Audiences are smarter, I guess, more in tune with what's going
Hmm.
on as far as storytelling is told, I think. So,
think so.
yeah.
Yeah, this movie rewards your patience,
Hmm.
I'd say. And
Yeah.
I didn't watch this movie until the whole reboot craze died down years later, and I watched it I watched this movie first, thankfully, and then I watched Dawn next, and then after that, War in the theaters. So,
Yeah.
um,
Well,
what?
you're absolutely right what you were saying earlier. I remember talking to people when this came out, and a lot of people had that feeling like, oh, another reboot, another reboot. And I remember selling this movie to people and telling them, like, no, you've got to watch this. It's not RoboCop and some of these other films that are out. This is legitimately a really good film. I remember trying to convince people to see this movie.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
remember.
Reboot fatigue.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
one of those because you were talking about Dawn, and I was like, "Oh," I was like, "What's that?" And you're like, "You didn't see the first one?" And you're because you were talking about how Dawn is like one of the best sequels of recent at the time, and and you're like, "Oh, you need to watch it. You need to get up on and watch it because they're already making the third film, and that way by the time you watch the first and the second, you're not too far behind when the third comes out." And I remember it being good, and watching it again, it's still good,
Mhm.
still solid, you know, the way that they
Yeah.
handled it, of course.
Yeah. The last 30 minutes of this movie are fantastic when the revolution starts and they escape the sanctuary and they go across San Francisco, getting to the bridge, wanting to get to the redwood forest, and it's some really great filmmaking with some great action sequences where the one gorilla attacks the helicopter, and then that's whenever Will's boss is caught in the helicopter and Caesar's staring him down, and he lets
Mm-hmm.
Koba, I think it's Koba, and says, "No, you can take care of him," and they ultimately are punishing these humans that did these things to them, and it's a remarkable sequence towards the end of the film. You know, and of course they get to the forest at the end of the movie, and when Will is there, and he tells Caesar, like, you got to stop doing this, you got to come home, and he talks to Will for the first time and says Caesar is home, and it's a great moment in the movie, when that happens, and it ends with them in the redwood forest, and then, of course, the pilots in a little mini post-credit scene. The pilots going through the airport, spitting up blood, and if you pay attention to the closing credits of this movie, they give you a lot of hints to the futures that shows the virus spreading across the world in the credits at the end of this film.
Yep.
And at that point, we didn't even know if we'd get a sequel. Fox put this out not knowing how successful it would be, and it was very successful. And they came back to do Dawn of the Planet of the Apes with Matt Reeves directing because unfortunately, Rupert Wyatt has talked about it before. The studio, I guess, I don't know if they just didn't believe in him because he hadn't made a lot of films, and they moved on from him. And Rupert has talked before. He goes, I don't know why they didn't ask me to make a sequel. I just was never asked. So they moved on to Matt Reeves to do the sequel. And Matt's films are both very good, and I have faith after watching this that Rupert probably would have made a couple of good sequels as well, but it didn't turn out that way. And so but he gave us a start to this reboot franchise, and it's a hell of a good start.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Some big development, developing Caesar's compassion,
Mm-hmm.
something that his parents in the third film, the the second sequel that came out, had
Mm-hmm.
Cornelius, and they were always
And
sympathetic to humans.
what's amazing is Andy Serkis was reluctant to do this at first. He had just made King Kong a few years earlier, and he's like, man, he wasn't sure if he really wanted to make another movie where he was playing an ape, and but he sat down, he really thought about it, and they convinced him to do it, and he brought this character to life in a hell of a good way for 3 films, and so I'm glad that he did it because he truly, like, a lot of the animators use his face and his things to capture his emotions, and it comes out on screen on Caesar, for sure.
Oh yeah,
So,
no, he,
I mean, there's
yeah,
the one scene where he's in the cage and he's just staring down, uh, Felton and all that, and he's like looking back and forth, thinking about his next move. Wyatt walks into the room when that's going on. He's like, "Oh, is he a bad ape? He looks scary." And I was like, "Well, he's not really a bad ape. He's just very intimidating,
yeah,
And
very
and they did a
intimidating.
great job of doing that in the film. But I think this movie's a pretty solid A. You know, I like it, and that says a lot because the trilogy gets better as it goes along. Dawn is fantastic. Middle film. War is fantastic. Those movies are probably both A+s compared to this one.
Mm-hmm.
You
Oh
know?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
And
this
it's
is
like,
definitely a
Yeah.
good. I think this movie is definitely a good start. I think the first maybe 30 minutes of it is probably the only thing that keeps it from being A+. It starts out, it's a little bit slow to start, but once it gets going, once they put Caesar in the sanctuary, it really starts rolling and it becomes a really remarkable film for the last hour or 15 minutes or so. The first 30 minutes is probably the only thing that holds it back a little bit, but you got to set up the story. Can't always jump right into it.
yeah,
So good stuff.
Yeah. Laid a solid foundation for movies to come.
Exactly. So, but 10 years, man, since this trilogy rebooted and got started, and I'm glad they did this. And I hope that, Disney, and before we get into the top five, I do, at the end of War for the Planet of the Apes, of course, this is a little bit of a spoiler, and we may talk some more about this in our top five. Caesar eventually frees all the apes from the humans, and he gets them to a safe home before he ultimately passes away. And I would imagine that the story that they could continue on would be with his son, continue to lead the revolution, and of course they allude to other ape factions being out there, and hopefully Fox continues this franchise with a fourth film. I don't think it needs another reboot. I think that it's still soon enough after this last one that they can maybe continue this franchise with some further films. I'd like to see that. So we'll see what happens. But that brings us into the top five for this week, and it is we're gonna look back on our top five favorite moments from the modern Rise of the Planet of the Apes trilogy, and I don't know. I guess I can start, or does anybody else want to start?
I'll start. Oh,
You want to start? You can
yeah,
start.
sure.
Go ahead.
So
I'll go in the middle this week. I hardly ever go in the middle.
yeah, so number 5 for me is in War Planet of the Apes. Whenever Caesar's basically showing how smart he is, he's talking to Woody Harrelson's character, the Colonel, and he's like, explaining like how he saw his men, saw his men out in the snow, and like, what did he do to them? He could tell that he killed his own men, and he's like, wow. He's like, they said you were smart, but I didn't know you were that smart. And then he goes on even further and basically unveils his plan, and he's just like really impressed. But of course, they're they keep him chained down and working in the compound so that he isn't too close to the colonel, can't take him out. But I thought that was a cool part, just that he had evolved by the third film and could reason.
My number five is Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Is when Koba approaches the two men that are drinking with the guns and everything, and we saw this scene in the trailers for the movie, and we knew it was going to happen, but it's the first moment in the entire trilogy where it's kind of chilling because you realize that not every ape is good like Caesar. That there's really bad apes out there too, and from that point on, Koba becomes Caesar's enemy. And so it's for the first time in the trilogy where it's not just the humans are evil to the apes; it's also there's some evil apes too, and that's a true turning point in the trilogy is when we realize that Koba's not the good ape like the rest of them.
Nope.
One of the best villains of recent movie history, too. I
Yeah.
have to say,
Yeah.
because you see Koba in the first movie as well.
Yes. Yeah.
He looks creepy, man. He just looks.
And what's
creepy.
funny is that species of apes are generally the most friendly, but yet he's evil in the movie.
That's funny.
Right. A little fun fact about Koba: Toby Kibble, who played Koba as a mocap actor, he also played Kong in Kong Skull Island.
Mm.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's Toby Kibble. That's also Kong.
Yeah.
So, my number 5 is when Caesar says no
Oh, back to me.
to Draco
you.
Malfoy in Rise of the Planet of the Apes when he finally stood up for himself.
Yeah.
And that was the start of the mark of the ape independence
Mm.
and free will. That's my number 5. Caesar says no from Rise.
Yep.
Nice. Number 4 for me, Caesar takes out his abuser. He fucks him up. He gets shocked. He gets what's coming to him. Just he deserved it. I'm glad that he, you know, Avada Kedabra'd him.
What?
Harry Potter, Avada Kedavra. It's the spell.
Oh,
It's like an
okay.
instant kill spell.
That's a deep cut, Matt.
Yep, deep cut.
Yeah.
Deep cut.
At number 4, I have in War for the Planet of the Apes the ultimate final battle in where Caesar comes across the courtyard and he's carrying the grenades. And he's trying to save his own kind, and it's a cool moment where you find yourself rooting for Caesar at this point. Like you said, you're not so much sympathetic in the first film, but by the time you get to War for the Planet of the Apes, you're definitely sympathetic with Caesar, and you hate Woody Harrelson's character so much that you want him to die. So when he's coming across that courtyard to save everybody, you're rooting for Caesar all the way, and it's a great sequence of events in that movie.
Yippers.
Yep.
My number 4 is when the apes come across the little girl who was who survived the new mutation of the virus, who became mute, and there's this. I forgot the name of the orangutan. What's her name?
Maurice.
Maurice.
Maurice. Yeah. Maurice basically taking the little girl under. I don't know if it's a he or she. Sometimes I'm supposed to be a male or female, but
it's played by a female mocap actors. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, Maurice takes little girl under her wing, so to speak. It's a nice tender moment. Plus meeting Zeke for the first time from War of the Planet of the Apes, kind of a comic relief, because that was a pretty dark movie, pretty heavy
Bad
movie.
Ape.
So
He called himself Bad Ape.
Oh, yeah, Bad Ape.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Played by Steve Zahn. Anyways, number 4.
Now, I've got the for 3. I've got the same one that you had at number 4, Mark. The that battle between where the Caesar's trying to fight the Colonel's army. The Colonel, of course, has just succumbed to the disease, the rapid response of the disease degenerating the human brain, making him basically beast-like. And he grabs that belt of grenades and blows the natural gas tank or whatever, and then the other army wins, but then the avalanche comes. I think that whole sequence is pretty cool. Yeah. You have that one ape named Donkey that turns on the soldiers and helps out Caesar.
Yeah. At number 3, I have the revolution on the bridge at the end of this movie that we cover today. I think it's really well shot. It's just it's important to what happens in the later on films because the revolution has begun and the rise of the Planet of the Apes has begun with that sequence on the Golden Gate Bridge.
Nice.
Yeah, my number 3 is the same, the Golden Gate Bridge battle.
You were looking at my list, weren't you?
No.
Number 2 for me, it's the ape army versus the humans in Dawn, where Gary Oldman's like, all right, we're just gonna shoot these guys. Oh shit, they have guns, and they're just like unloading, and he's like, what the fuck, And you're just like, oh my god, they can handle guns. This is scary. This ain't gonna be a pushover.
Of course, Matt goes with guns.
Yeah, apes with guns.
At my number 2, I have the end of the trilogy, man. When they arrive at their new home after the battle with the general and everything in War for Planet of the Apes, and Caesar gets to look out on his family and his apes and sees that they're safe, and he's able to be at peace, knowing that he saved his kind through even if it cost him his own life.
My number 2 is when Koba commandeers a tank and
Oh
it
yeah.
comes in that wonderful POV sequence of him shooting up the compound, the human compound, in the middle of a battle. Was very well done, very creative camera work, and a very very unforgettable moment for
That was
me
in the
from
second one,
Dawn.
right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, from Dawn. Yeah, Koba commandeers tank.
Yeah.
Number one, I've got see when Caesar says no and just freaks the shit out of all the two caretakers there, and and then that's when the apes really, really, really start following him, and then he, of course, leads them out onto their jailbreak into the forest.
My number one is, I think, a little bit more important speaking line than that. That's not important, but it's at the end of the film where he tells Will Caesar is home, because I mean that's the beginning of it all right there. I mean, I think that's the most important movie in the moment in the entire trilogy for me.
Yeah.
In a trilogy full of great moments. Like, we'd even talk, Dawn sometimes in this trilogy is forgotten about, which middle movies tend to be in a lot of trilogies, unless you're The Empire Strikes Back. But, like, I forget about the whole battle on the scaffold in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. That's pretty freaking spectacular, too, where Caesar's trying to save, his kind on that battle. So, but number one is when he says Caesar is home.
Well, my number one pick that sparked the whole ape revolution was the death of Harambe in 2000.
Shut the front door.
Harambe forever.
Harambe, poor Harambe. Oh, anyways, all right. Number one, my absolute unforgettable favorite moment from the trilogy reboot is the final moments of Woody Harrelson's character. Um, it is the biggest I felt character resolution for the trilogy for Caesar,
Mm-hmm.
where in a way the general was afflicted. Was it a general or colonel?
Colonel.
He was a colonel.
The
It
colonel.
was Colonel.
Yeah, the colonel was afflicted with this degenerative disease, and he wanted Caesar to pull the trigger. But after all the pain and misery that the general has caused Caesar, Caesar would not uh, give the general an easy way out. you
Yeah.
know,
Right.
and it ultimately shows that who's the savage. Was the Caesar
Mhm.
or the colonel? And yeah, so he wasn't.
Yeah.
Caesar was going to give him an easy way out. And I thought it was a very powerful moment. No words were exchanged either, which is brilliant too.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah,
it was
Matt
just
Reeves'
all
direction.
visual.
Reeves'
Yeah,
direction on those two films was really good.
yeah.
How about Woody, man? Did Woody have issues like some of the other actors in the 2000s? Did he have drug issues and stuff?
Thought he was drinking. Thought he
Was it
was.
drinking? Yeah, because
Thought he
that
was
Drinking.
he's had a heck of a bit of a career renaissance in recent years with the Planet of the Apes and
Hunger
Star Wars
Games.
and Zombieland and the Hunger Games, and I've always enjoyed Woody on screen. I think he's a pretty decent actor. Who's good on screen. So good for him, man, to
Come
have
on,
a
he's
bit of a career
yeah.
renaissance.
He's come a long way from Cheers, that's for sure.
Yeah. And what was White Man Can't Jump was one of his first starring roles, and
Yep, him and Wesley Snipes.
yeah.
He would pretend like Wesley would pretend that he would pick him out of the crowd. Look, this white dude, I'll play with him. Put money on the table, and then they'd kick their asses.
Yeah, they were like hustling people and stuff. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, man, good for Woody, man. He's had a nice career comeback over recent years, so good actor. All right, well, let's do a little bit of news before we preview next week's film. There's not a whole lot to talk about, but early reactions of Dune has hit as it was premiered at the Venice Film Festival, and reactions go from saying it's great to saying it's a bit pretentious and okay. There's already Dune fans that are apparently picking apart the story choices made. this is one of those hardcore group of fan bases that, you're not going to please them all.
Yeah.
But overall, fairly positive. I'm still going to watch it when it hits HBO Max in October, and that's all that matters.
Same here.
So,
Yeah.
DC's next animated film is Injustice, which is based on the popular. They're not based on the video game. It's based on the comic book line, where Superman is tricked by Lex Luthor to kill Lois Lane, and it sets off a chain of events. And it's coming out pretty soon, like in a few weeks from now, in October. I'll always enjoy the DC animated movies, so I'm looking forward to that one. A different take on the DC mythos. More movies have been pushed around. Ghostbusters got pushed back 1 week, and it feels like we're never going to see Top Gun Maverick because it got pushed back to May of next year. And Mission Impossible 7 moved from May to, I believe, late August, September of next year. Yeah, it's just like, I get these are investments and stuff, but, we're almost a year and a half into this. Just put the stuff out on day-and-day releases, make your money. And that's the crazy thing about Black Widow. I know Scarlett is suing, Disney and all that, but, man, the movie still made a lot of money. Black Widow is going to break even and then some. So it's not like it was a failure, so it, and let's be honest, was Black Widow really going to make $300 or $400 million Captain America money, even if it was in theaters? Probably not,
Yeah.
So it still did well, so I don't know. Eventually I'll see Top Gun Maverick. But one movie that I will see if it still comes out in theaters a month from now like it's supposed to, and that's James Bond, No Time to Die. New trailer hit this week, and man, that's a really good trailer. I know you watched it, Matt. Did you watch the new trailer, Long?
Yeah, in the theater. Yeah.
The No Time to Die trailer?
Yeah. Wait,
well, no,
the
theater. No, it didn't show today. But there's a new trailer that hit this week, and it's a really good trailer.
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah, I saw it. I don't know. I'm a little neutral.
Wasn't it supposed to be out? Was this another one that was supposed to be out over a year ago?
Yeah.
Yep.
It was
and
last
it was
March
pushed
or
to
April.
early October. It was going to air in a few weeks from now, and then they pushed it back even more.
Well, no, right now it's still scheduled for October. They haven't pushed it back again yet. Yeah.
Oh, I thought they pushed.
See.
Maybe I'm thinking of a different film.
No. Yeah, so we'll see. Well, that's it for news, man. It was, like I said, kind of a slow week, but let's preview next week's movie. It is Matt's birthday on September 11th.
Yes.
So it's Matt's birthday pick, and we all know when it comes around for Matt's birthday pick that we might get something that's like we cringe at, as he made us watch the last
cringe
Action
it.
Hero.
You're cringing it.
Yeah.
I'm not cringing this one as bad as I was the last Action Hero. That one was hard to watch again. But so Matt has chosen to do Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me.
Do you swing?
Are you kidding, baby? I put the gar in swinger, baby. Yeah.
Austin Powers
Crazy, baby. Yeah.
is back
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
with the help of the beautiful Felicity Shagwell.
How does that feel, baby?
Lower.
How does that feel, baby?
In a thrilling adventure of intrigue, treachery, and love. But Dr. Evil is back, and more evil than ever.
Gonna cry, huh? Oh, yeah. I'm going to go back to the 60s and steal Austin Powers' mojo. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm about to travel through time. I bid you adieu.
A bombshell with a secret. Robin Swallows.
Swallows. That's an interesting name.
Maiden name Spitz.
Well, which is it, baby? Spitz or swallows?
Dr. Evil, we began a program to clone you. He is exactly like you in every way. 1/8 your size.
I shall call him Mini-Me.
Mini-Me. Something small, something deadly. Mike Myers. Mike Myers.
What are you, some kind of freak? You mother.
Heather Graham.
Move over, Rover. This chick is taking over.
And Mike Myers.
Surprise! Surprise!
In the biggest Austin Powers adventure yet. Austin Powers, the spy who shagged me.
Great plan, Einstein. All right, zip it. You can't. Zip. It's simple. Subtitle. Zip it. From this. You know.
So probably a lot of sex jokes and weird jokes and stuff we'll be talking about on next week's show. As we talk this parody of the James Bond films, essentially, when they came out in the late 90s. It was kind of late 90s, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe so. I think it was 99 was the first, or 99 or 2000 was the first one. Then the second one was like 2 or 3. Because I remember they kind of, they're like the trailers had like an Attack of the Clones joke or something. So I want to say it had some, there were some Star Wars references. So yeah. So starring Mike Myers, of course. And who's the female in this one?
Elizabeth Hurley does start off at the beginning, but it goes to Heather Graham.
It's Heather Graham. Okay.
And then Rebecca
Just
remains
say Heather
nameless,
Graham, bro.
Yeah,
You'll get to summarize it.
Yeah.
Yay.
So we will watch that on it. They're all on Netflix.
Hey, don't forget about Roadhouse.
That was last year. It was last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Roadhouse is like
that's still
it was a bizarre movie for sure.
Yeah, where he just rips the guy's throat out of nowhere. I'm like, wait, what? So bizarre.
Roadhouse.
And hippie Sam Elliott. Jeez.
Mm-hmm.
So that's next week as we celebrate Matt's birthday as he turns 13.
At least we're watching an intentional comedy and not a
and they're all on. I think all these are on Netflix or Amazon Prime or something. I know they're all streaming. So that's next week's show.
Yeah.
But until then, the RebelRadioPodcast.com, of course, for all your needs. Just continue to stay safe out there. We thank you for listening, and hopefully for an hour every week we bring some fun into your world. That's what we try to do on this show in the world that, let's be honest, kind of sucked the last year and a half. So, trying to bring some fun into it. But until next time, like I said, thanks as always for listening. This has been Mark.
This has been Matt.
This is Long, the ape revolutionary. I don't know.
Until next time, remember, as always, just go
there and do it.